I sat down to Blender tutorials every day for a whole year to master the program. To be honest, that is what I did in the year from 2020 until 2021. I continued with Blender after that in a more chilling pace, and I want to share now what I learned on the way and why. I do it for the same reason I did share the 1-year draw progress I made. It will be the harder entrance than starting drawing, but it really pays off to break the first frustration walls, and then you really start to have fun with the program. So maybe this video motivates you to start if you're still hesitating. Another thing you have to learn are the hotkeys. This speeds up your workflow super fast, and later you don't think about it anymore. It's like playing chords on a guitar. So to speed up your progress, make yourself a cheat sheet. There's a huge amount out there. Yeah, and if you ask me, most of them look way too complicated for a beginner. So I would suggest to start with CG Cookies cheat sheet. I link it in the description. Earlier I made a video about how to orientate for your first steps and which YouTube channels you should go for. I will link the video in the description. So I finally want to show you in a fast time lapse what I learned throughout the process. I tried to keep it in a chronological order with a heavy focus on breaking walls and showing the stuff that I think are the best pieces I made. I think the first worth mentioning model is this suit guy that is low poly and sticks his tongue out. It's looking like a Man in Black, but with way more color. It's maybe not a good idea to start directly with the character, but I somehow got it, and I think I really like it still today. Through this model I got to know the face orientation. Back then I didn't know how to check it, and I wondered why faces were missing when rendering the model. Yeah, back then there were not many videos or learning sources out there, so I had quite a hard time to figure that out. But for the hotkey lovers, it's just Alt and N, and then you can switch the face orientation. By the way, you can change it or look it up right here on the top. After finishing the suit guy, I really thought I had to dive way more deeper into Blender modifiers, and I stick to it by making, for example, this rose and using an array to make easy copies of the blossom leaves to spare time. Another thing was the air glider here that is inspired by Avatar, and I only modeled the half of it because there's a mirror modifier. Or for example this pavilion, I made the edges more interesting by adding a bevel modifier. And I also learned some hard surface modeling. For example, I have made these sci-fi motorcycle, but there's a lot of stuff I did after that, like the fountain here, the katana, the medieval pavilion, the smoking pipe, the urukai sword from Lord of the Rings, this wooden flower, this monolith, cyberpunk street houses, or these city skyscrapers, and following a lot of textures like this gold thing pattern, these clothing textures like the fabric or this pattern, some leather textures for sand dunes, and also a wooden texture. Then I discovered Mixamo. Mixamo is a service by Adobe which allows you to either upload a character or take one of its library and rig it directly, and you can also choose animations there and use them for free. So to get a better knowledge of character modeling, I grabbed some base meshes from there and also from Sketchfab and tried only to modify them to make my own character out of it. And that's how I made this Cyclops cyborg, this samurai, and also this masked fighter girl. Then we move on to some renderings, and I experimented a lot with funny and dark scenes, and also did some short clips. Later then I tried to get my feet into animation, but I really struggled with that, and I struggle still today. Then I commissioned art from 2 great artists and started to model by a character turnaround. For example, I did this desert fox I commissioned from Simon SNDL. You should check him out on ArtStation. This is the one you saw in the intro of the video. I really liked it. And I also did 2 other characters, like this Dune Sand Golem that looks a little bit like this Naruto character, I guess, which I think is really great, which looks kind of creepy, I like it. And also this Dune Walker, Desert Walker character, Lear. At that time I read the book Dune and was super hyped, so I thought I need to make an own character that looks a little bit similar like the Fremen. I liked her so much that I thought I had to make a game project about her. So at that time I discovered Unreal Engine 4. I wanted to make a desert. I found out that there's a landscape add-on in Blender where you can generate dunes, and out of that I baked a height map that you can bring into Unreal Engine and form dunes there. I then added the props I made earlier, like the sand dune textures or the monolith or the broken pavilion you saw earlier, and then I tried to manage to get her into this level. I made a prototype out of it that has some working functionality, but unfortunately I never finished this project because back then I didn't have any clue of game design. So for about 1 year, me and my friend Onimaru were into that game project called Lear, but yeah, as I said, it failed. And then I was a little bit upset and had a big lack of motivation, but then I thought, why not overcome the fear to start sculpting. Yeah, I did my first hat. I was so proud of the first hat that I modeled a body to it. I added some hair, and this was basically the first version of our actual game, the main character for Project Career. We are developing in our Engine 5. You can download and test the current version on itch.io for free. And later on I did a second one, and then I moved on to Amara, which is a more muscular woman. She should represent a street fighter girl, and I just wanted to have fun with this project. This was the time lapse you also saw earlier, and this was the first time I modeled the full body anatomy and also the clothing with the sculpting tool. I still think this is the best piece I made, and I also really like the fox, I have to confess. Yeah, in this last showcase I just want to show you all characters I did since my first day in Blender. Some may have some topology issues, but others are quite good, I think. a really short summary of about 3 years of learning Blender. I hope you liked it somehow. Give it a like, subscribe if you want, and thank you, my friends, and see you next week.